Across the dry savannas of northern Tanzania, even the smallest sound can carry information that means the difference between safety and danger. A branch suddenly snaps somewhere above, and the Hadzabe hunters immediately stop in their tracks. No one knows whether it was simply a dead branch broken by the wind, or a warning sign from an animal hidden somewhere in the canopy. Everyone stands still. They listen, they watch, and they wait. On the ground, pieces of half-eaten fruit and fresh tracks reveal that a troop of baboons has recently passed through the area. For the Hadzabe, a hunt does not begin when an arrow leaves the bow. It begins the moment they start reading the signs left behind by nature. A freshly broken branch, a footprint in the sand, an unusual bird call, or even a bush moving in a way that does not match the wind. Every detail can tell them something about what has just happened. The hunters continue forward, but now they move more slowly. Baboons have excellent eyesight and incredibly fast reactions. Within a troop, some individuals often position themselves high above the ground, watching the surrounding area for danger. One unusual movement is enough to send the entire troop disappearing within seconds. So the hunters lower their bodies, using thorn bushes and tree trunks to stay hidden. One man circles around from another direction, making sure the wind does not carry their scent toward the baboons. The others remain almost completely motionless. When one baboon separates from the troop and pauses on a low branch, one of the hunters slowly raises his bow. No one speaks. Every eye is fixed on a narrow opening between the leaves. The arrow leaves the string. Everything happens within seconds. There is no cheering, no excessive celebration. For them, hunting is not a game. It is simply part of life. But what lies on the ground is never the only danger. As they continue deeper into an area filled with rocks, low trees. Before the sun has fully risen, the Hadzabe camp is already beginning to wake. There are no alarm clocks, no traffic, no loud commands. The men check their bowstrings, adjust their arrows, and prepare the simple tools they carry with them. Their hunting dogs follow them into the wilderness. The dogs know the terrain, can pick up scents, and help locate animals hiding deep within the bushes. The Hadzabe do not hunt by simply rushing forward. Most of their time is spent observing. One hunter may stop just to examine a barely visible footprint in the sand. Another watches the branches, trying to determine whether they are moving because of the wind or because an animal has just passed through. Sometimes, the entire forest suddenly falls silent. To someone unfamiliar with this land, that silence might mean nothing. But to people who have lived here for generations, it can be a warning that a predator has entered the area. They know which animals tend to hide in low bushes, which ones move through the trees, which ones flee the moment they detect humans, and which ones are dangerous enough that confrontation is best avoided. In the wilderness, conserving energy is just as important. Following the wrong trail for several hours can turn an entire day of hunting into a failure. That is why patience can sometimes be just as important as knowing how to use a bow and arrow. One of the signs that puts the entire group on high alert is the footprint of a leopard. Rounded tracks in the dirt, claw marks on a tree trunk, or unusual behavior among nearby monkeys can all suggest that a leopard is somewhere close. Leopards are masters of camouflage. One can lie hidden among the bushes while a person passes nearby without ever realizing it is there. After hours of moving through the wilderness, the hunters discover the remains of an antelope dragged high into the branches of a large tree. It is a significant warning sign. Leopards often carry their prey into trees to protect it from scavengers and other competitors. And that means the leopard itself could still be very close. The entire group immediately slows down. They carefully scan the bushes, the base of the trees, and the dark spaces beneath the canopy. A single careless step could cause the animal to burst from its hiding place. For the Hadzabe, the goal is not always confrontation. Sometimes, the smartest decision is simply to change direction. Because in this land, knowing when to stop can be just as important as knowing when to move forward. But leopards are not the only predators they have to watch for. In another part of the savanna, large, rounded tracks appear in the soft ground. Judging by how fresh and clearly defined they are, the hunters believe that a male lion passed through the area not long ago. No one speaks. The group spreads out, using the low bushes for cover. In this hunting scenario, the lion appears on a small rise, its dark mane standing out against the golden grass. It pauses to scan its surroundings before moving down toward a trail leading to a water source. As the distance closes, the first arrow is released. A powerful roar echoes across the savanna. Flocks of birds burst from the ground in panic. The animal charges forward with tremendous force, while the hunters move to either side rather than remaining directly in its path. Even after the confrontation is over, they do not approach immediately. They wait, and they watch carefully. Because one of the most dangerous mistakes is assuming that a large predator is no longer capable of fighting back. In the life of the Hadzabe portrayed in this scenario, confronting a lion is not about proving courage. They understand that humans do not always stand at the top of the food chain. An unnecessary confrontation can come at a devastating cost to the entire group, and sometimes, avoiding danger is the greatest sign of experience. Water sources bring dangers of their own. Herds of antelope and zebra often come down to the river to drink. But beneath the murky water, a Nile crocodile could be waiting. A crocodile can remain almost completely motionless for hours. From the surface, all that may be visible are its eyes and a small part of its snout. The rest of its body remains completely hidden beneath the water. Instead of walking directly toward the riverbank, the hunters choose a higher position where they can observe the area from a safe distance. By the afternoon, small ripples begin to appear across the surface. A large crocodile slowly crawls onto the muddy bank and settles beneath the sun. It is one of the rare moments when the animal leaves behind its greatest advantage, the water. As the crocodile begins moving back toward the river, the hunters in this story keep their distance while attempting to prevent it from reaching the water's edge. The confrontation lasts only a short time, but every second is filled with tension, and it reinforces a lesson that appears again and again throughout life in this wilderness. Never underestimate a wild animal. However, Hadzabe life is not only about hunting large animals. On many journeys, food can come from much simpler sources. They search for edible roots and tubers, they gather wild fruit, and most importantly, they look for honey. When they notice bees flying around a hollow tree, they carefully follow their movement to locate the hive. Dry grass or small branches are burned to create smoke. The smoke helps drive some of the bees away from the hive, allowing the honey to be collected by hand or with very simple tools. After hours of walking beneath the hot sun, honey provides an important source of energy. In this story, they do not take all the honey from the hive. Some is left behind for the bees and for future visits. This reflects an idea that appears again and again throughout the story of the Hadzabe. They take what they need for the present, rather than trying to collect everything they possibly can. On other hunts, the target may simply be a warthog or a smaller animal. When they discover fresh warthog tracks, one hunter crouches down to examine the ground before signaling for the others to move forward. They advance slowly, careful not to step on dry branches. They constantly pay attention to the direction of the wind, because if the wind carries their scent ahead of them, the animals may disappear long before the hunters ever get close enough to see them. The dogs begin to behave differently as soon as they pick up the animal's scent. Immediately, the group spreads out to narrow its possible escape routes. An arrow is released. The hunt unfolds quickly. Once they are certain the animal can no longer escape, they approach. There is no prolonged celebration, because the purpose of the journey remains simple: to bring food back to the camp. By the end of the day, smoke begins to rise from the camp. Meat is placed directly over hot coals or cooked in simple pots. There is no modern kitchen, no elaborate cooking equipment. Some people prepare the meat, others collect water. Children gather firewood. The elders sit near the fire and talk. But the most remarkable part of this story is not how the food is prepared. It is how the food is shared. The hunter who fired the first arrow does not automatically receive the largest portion, nor does the person who traveled the farthest receive special treatment. The food is shared among the members of the community, children, adults, those who took part in the hunt, and those who remained at the camp. A successful hunt is not seen as the achievement of a single individual. It is the result of the entire group. One person reads the tracks, another watches the direction of the wind, someone else notices movement, another uses the bow and arrow, and in the end, the food returns to the camp to feed the entire community. As darkness falls, the firelight begins to illuminate the camp. Conversation and laughter gradually replace the silence of a long day of hunting. The younger generation sits beside the elders. Stories from the day's journey become a way of passing knowledge from one generation to the next. Through these stories, the young learn how to recognize animal tracks, how to read the wind, how to listen for changes in the sounds of the wilderness. They learn when to move forward, and more importantly, when to stop. Not every skill can be passed down through words. Many things can only be learned by walking alongside those with experience. Watching how they move, how they study the ground, how they suddenly stop when they hear an unfamiliar sound, or how a single nod can be enough for the entire group to understand what to do next. In a modern world increasingly dependent on smartphones, digital maps, and technology, the way of life portrayed here operates through an entirely different system: observation, memory, experience, and the ability to adapt. Perhaps the most fascinating part of the Hadzabe story is not their ability to hunt a monkey, track a warthog, or recognize the presence of a predator. It is their relationship with the land around them. They are not portrayed as people trying to conquer nature. Instead, they understand that they are only a small part of it. Every animal has its place, every water source carries its own dangers, and every hunt has its limits. One careless decision can send the entire group home empty-handed. One overlooked sign can lead them directly into the hiding place of a predator. But through thousands of years of experience passed from one generation to the next, the Hadzabe have learned how to adapt to this harsh environment. Knowledge helps them find food. Caution helps them avoid danger. But hunting skills alone are not what allow the community to survive. There is something else, just as important: sharing. In this story, security does not come from one person owning large amounts of food or possessions. It comes from knowing that if someone fails to find food today, the others will not leave them behind. When a hunt succeeds, the result is shared. As children grow, knowledge is passed down. When someone struggles, the community supports them. In a land where tomorrow is never guaranteed, that may be more valuable than any possession. And as the fire slowly fades beneath the night sky of Tanzania, another day comes to an end. By tomorrow, the tracks left in the sand today may have already been erased by the wind. But the knowledge that allows the Hadzabe to read those tracks continues to survive, passed from elder to youth, from one hunt to the next, and from one generation to another. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of this ancient way of life. Survival does not depend on strength alone. It depends on observation, patience, understanding your own limits, and knowing that sometimes having enough is enough.